Good morning. Today, I'm going to be using my feather for my shave, and it's got 35 uses, 36 uses on it. So we're going to put on number 37 today. And it is a little fussy when I use my mild razors with it, which sometimes happens as your blade life increases. And so I've got this little bit more aggressive than average. I wouldn't call it aggressive. It's a C plate from Karve, and this is the Christopher Bradley razor. And this is the open comb head, and so that means that you might be able to compare it with the D plate that is on the solid bar head. If you have or know somebody who has that plate, and that's just a reference point for you. Before I forget, the three notes in this soap from Mickey Lee: La Belle du Sud, Lavender, I may have already forgotten them, Peach, and Pistachio. So let's see what we get. Man, I'm not a lavender fan when it's a dominant scent, but the peach, the sweetness and fruitiness of the peach overwhelms it in this. It's obviously a stronger ratio, and so I think what's happening is the lavender is kind of helping out the peach not to be quite so, I don't know, standard. We'll see if I get any nuttiness from the pistachio. It's an older puck. The design here, and you can see the label has been through some stuff. This is my first time trying this. I got this as a used soap, and I'm a Southern boy, and so that means this means La Belle du Sud means the beauty of the South, or the belle of the South. I think it's meant to kind of resemble a beautiful Southern lady, or what she might smell like. And I'm all about that. So let's see how it smells on a Southern man. All right. The brush we have has been soaking for several minutes. I did kind of spread it out a little for the picture. This is such a strange knot. It's a 30mm knot, but it almost seems like it gets narrower as you get closer to the tips. Obviously, that's going to change as more tips split. It only has been used 5 times, just a few, something like that. This is the whip dog handle. The smaller whip dog handle for like the 24mm knots, I find too, I don't know, small, and then when it gets lathery and soapy, then this resin just gets really wet and hard to hold on to easily. But this 30mm one is much larger. I've had a pretty good luck with it so far. So anyway, I spread it around a little bit for the pictures. I've enjoyed it so far. So let's put it back in some water while we get everything else ready. I might bring this guy into my rotation of boar brushes, my borathon that I've been doing for several months now. They're all at about 16 uses, so it would require some catching up. Okay, let's put the razor blade in the razor. And I don't reckon, well, let's see, I'll give you kind of a little mini tour of the Chris Bradley razor while we do that. This is the 3¼ inch handle. I'm sorry, 3½. I don't use the length unless I guess I do. When in normal face operations, I don't use the length. It's just for balance. It works out really well that way. When I'm doing my this type of stroke on my neck, then I might grab the end, but that's about it. I've got big hands, but I don't use them in a big way on the razor because I don't want leverage. I don't want to be able to apply pressure to my face. I want it to keep it light. So here's the bottom of the base plate, and this is of course the brass version of the Chris Bradley razor. And it does hold the blade exactly in place. You never need to worry about lining it or checking the alignment. All right. Now, because the posts, like so many of the vintage razors, are in the top, you don't really put the blade on top of the base plate. you put it on top of the top cap there, and it sits on those posts precisely. Don't have to worry about alignment at all. I hold it lightly here until I flip it over and squeeze it just a little, and then I grip it more. Still be concerned about a pinching hazard there, and so when the screwing operation here touches, then I release, and then I hold it only by the bottom to finish the tightening. That way I never get pinched. All right. So I'm going to throw a little water on my face. This is tepid hard water. I'm sorry, this is soft water at this location. And tepid temperature. And where's my brush? All right, I'm going to shake out most. All right, as usual, shake out most of the water. And then let's get started on the puck. I think 30-second load is what we have kind of found out is best for Mickey Lee. For me and my preferences. So we started about the 10-second mark. Still quite enough water in here to start stirring up this kind of froth. So we'll go to the 40-second mark. Just medium pressure, nothing heavy, making the brush fibers flex some. Definitely not mashing it all the way down in there. And that is 30 seconds. So we've got a lot of extra stuff. If it's super airy, don't even bother collecting it. You don't need it. It's not going to be a friend to you, usually. All right. Off camera there, I was just rinsing the threads and the sides of the soap container. All right. This is what 30 seconds of loading looks like on a 30mm Boar brush. And Boar is just such a funny, literal animal. At least regarding his hairs, because they do absorb water, and many of the Boar brushes that you have out there will just they'll feel like a broom before you get them wet, before you soak them, before you shave. It's just the way they are. For the longest time, they were the go-to kind of poor man's brush because they were inexpensive. But, I mean, the thing is, they work really well. They're really comfortable. Once they break in, that's the key. Sometimes some boars can take 6 months to break in. Some Mogs and Zeniths, in my experience, don't take very long at all. A week maybe. And so with those brushes, some people break them in just by using them. Just use them. My guess is that using them gently is probably the best way to break them in for if you want to keep it around for a while, because it's going to be less sudden, and the splits that develop on the tips might occur in a better place on the fiber. They might split down a safer region in the hair bristle. This is all speculation. Whereas there are shortcut methods where you soak the brush for 3 days in the fridge. You bring it out every once in a while to strop it on a towel, dry it off and work it and stuff. It may actually be just as good. I don't know. And I'm definitely I've got a couple of Omegas, and I'm treating one of them like crap, because I know that take so long to break in that I don't really, and it's an inexpensive brush, and so I don't really care if it doesn't break in the best way possible, because it's just being so ornery and stubborn that I don't mind beating it to death. And so for my Borathon, I've adopted a milder break-in where I soak it about an hour to 3 hours before the shave in just tepid water. Bristles only, not the handle. And that seems to be moving along the brushes really nicely. Well, all except for the Omega. The Stirling Boar brush has also taken a while to get really soft. He's no longer prickly like the Omega still is, but he's taken a while. He's still got lots of backbone. Not too many of the tips have split. That's just the way boar brushes are, but there is something really cool about training up a boar brush as you watch it morph, as you feel it getting more comfortable on the face. It's almost like it's treating you better and better each time you use it. You kind of develop an attachment. Maybe because you know it, maybe because you're watching it grow, maybe because you're the one that's doing it, I don't know. But it's really neat to raise up break in a boar brush, to me at least. I don't know, my mind might be changed after I have to do it for the 45th time or something like that. So the lather is looking good. Mickey Lee's not one that I can really take to the elastic levels that I often prefer, to be really wet. So I have to leave it a little drier or it'll just be too thin on my face. Okay, so we've got 2.5 teaspoons of water in there. Let's add just a little bit more, a tiny bit. This bowl is a 3D printed bowl. It's got ridges in the insides. It's got the inturned lip to kind of throw the lather back into the bowl instead of letting it roll out of the edge. It works really well. That's my favorite feature, actually. It's got this cool brush rest on the side. If you have enough sink space, then you can use it as a thumb rest when you're holding the bowl. But I don't really think it gives me quite, because there's nothing to grip on the bottom, I don't think it gives me kind of quite enough grip. Plus I like to hold my bowl up so you guys can see it while I'm working. But the main reason is my home sink has a very tiny shoulder, and if I set it down on the counter this way and I rest my brush that way, then the brush is hanging over the trash can, and I don't really like that because one day it's going to slip, you know. If it hasn't already, it probably has already. Alrighty. I'll throw a little bit more water on me. And here we go. Now in the beginning, it wasn't splaying very much, but as you can see now it's opening up more because it's got all that lather stuffed in there. No prickle at all from these brushes. I really enjoyed the first Whip Dog boar brush I ever tried, so much that I used it for a whole month straight last year at the austere August, which is coming up in just a couple days. Now look at this lather. See how it's dissipating? It's not even very much on the side of my brush. It's so that's sometimes a sign that you maybe had too much water in your brush, or like if I left some water in my goatee, sometimes that can flush out a lather. So the good thing if you're a bowl latherer, just get back in there and put some more on your brush. Maybe I thinned it down too much. So what I can do next time when I do my second pass is leave my face more dry before I put on the lather. Yeah, boy, this just keeps thinning down, right? Well, that can't last forever. Plus, I can always go, this could be an old puck of soap, and so it's possible that not as much soap got onto the brush as usual. And I may just have overwatered it. A lot of times when you're doing this motion with the brush, it'll be this thin, and that's okay. But it will also have a lot of soap on the sides, and so when you switch to a painting motion, then you can, you know, get more lather and make your layer thicker. But as you can see, it's not really the case here. You know what I'm going to do?
0910.
Come on, reminder. Just going to go a few seconds here, and then let's just see if that combines with the overage of water on my face and in the brush, and just kind of thickens it up. Yep. And the brush is starting to feel better too, because the fibers have the slick lather between them instead of having to kind of stick together and just kind of they're splaying much more easily now. We're getting a good scrub on my face this morning. Yep, there we go. That brought it back nicely. Okay. So, if you, you know, in a way that's better to have it too wet, because all it takes is a few seconds in the tub and then bam, you've got a great lather on your face. If you get it too dry, then you're stuck. You know, you can still, it's easy to fix. You can still add water to your lather in the bowl, then add water to your brush, you know, and all that. So I guess both are easy to fix, but I don't know. This one just seemed a little quicker to fix. A lot of times if you have too much of the dry lather on your face and you know you need to make it wetter, it can take a while. Yeah, it just takes a while to redistribute the new water you've added to your brush, you know, on your face. And this didn't take very long at all to kind of rescue this one. All right, feather use number 37. And we are dealing with a larger than average amount of growth today. And so I can feel the blade cutting a lot more than usual. Now that's only going to happen on the first pass. Because it's going to cut so well, most likely, that on the second and third passes it'll feel great. That kind of like normal. I wonder if your skin gets used to shaving, you know, and toughens up over time. I bet not, because I mean, I've been doing this for a while, and I think I kind of have the same skin irritation issues that I still have to be careful about. All right, rinse. Okay, it's time for that second pass. Let's see if we have any kind of soap concentrate left on my brush here. I left my face a little wet. Not a whole lot. Let's go ahead and use up what I have in my bowl here. Before we go tapping back into the soap tub again. Maybe this lather can combine with some concentrate in the brush. And when this was filled with nice lather, when I was doing the circular motion, see right now the hairs are following behind the handle and they're not splaying. But when it was when it had good lather in it, the splay stayed because the lather helped it out. The soap and the lather inside help it out. Just a couple of seconds in the tub because we only need a little bit of soap. It doesn't take too much. So I obviously needed to load for a little bit longer. And sometimes I've experienced that with soaps that haven't been used in a while. All right, cross grain now. Oh, see, and that's the smooth cutting action that I knew was coming. Very comfortable. Barely feel the blade at all because it did such a good job taking care of the stubble on the first pass. All right, very good. Kind of being quick today. And sometimes you really can, because you know that you've got future passes coming to clean up, so you don't have to just get everything with each pass. So yeah, this soap needs to be run a lot drier than this soap base, than I usually go for. Just put down, we're kind of emptying the bowl here. And it's not going to be, I could probably actually shave with it because you don't need a huge thick layer. It just won't feel creamy, luxurious. And there are some people who don't even rinse between passes. Seen guys where you say, does anybody not rinse between passes? And you'll go have a few guys crop up and say, what? There are people out there who do? That's just the way it is. I bet in the old days when they didn't have all the running water that we do, I bet they didn't, right? I mean, if they had a nice big basin of water, they were fortunate enough to have that, then yeah, I could see it. But I bet many just had a small amount of water, and so you wanted to kind of conserve it, save it for the end. And sometimes that's good because, that slickness stays on your face, and maybe in some ways you get a better shave. But yeah, right here, nice and slick. There was one area where I skipped along, and that's a sign that your lather's a little too wet. It's kind of skipped over my face. All right. Do I want to just use whatever is left in the brush to do a little touch up in my trouble spot by going this direction? Taking it easy, very light, just enough pressure to keep the blade on the skin. And that's all we're going to do. And that took a lot of refinement with learning the direction to go right there, because they're just some
0920
weird directional hairs that can be pulled the wrong way and cause irritation. And so lightness is the key. Good sharp blade is the key. All right, rinse. I got an amazing cut right here. It's fabulous. In many cases, it's just flush. I don't even see the tips of the hairs, and that is rare for me. There's no length to any bits of hair or anything like that. And so very, very close shave for me today. Face, of course, feels terrific. And so, sure, there are a lot of guys out there who say they can only get 3 uses, 5 uses out of a feather blade. And maybe that's true. It's definitely going to be true for some people out there. But I believe the vast majority of people, if they get good technique, have a really slick lathers, I believe they could go a lot further and feathers can be expensive. And so all of a sudden, if you can take a 3-use feather blade and turn it into a 30-use feather blade, all of a sudden that expense goes out the window. Okay, and so you can definitely afford those when you can stretch them that long. And I'm stretching them comfortably. Okay, and I'm stretching them in and still getting close, very acceptable shaves, excellent shaves for the business environment, that sort of thing. And I only had to migrate up to a more aggressive razor in the 30s. Once I hit maybe 34 or something like that, that's when I had to move up away from a mild razor, which is what I enjoy using a feather with, just because of the comfort level. But and he's going to be able to go a lot farther. And so only if you have a mild razor only, then yeah, sure, maybe you won't be able to get as many out there. But a lot of guys, a lot of guys have other razors, and especially there's some vintage razors out there for just $10 or $15. The super speeds, the super speed flare tips are very inexpensive, and they are kind of in the medium range. The Gillette Techs are a vintage razor that's in the mild range for sure, and so they while still cutting efficiently, they are very inexpensive as well. And so you can get now. And then another one that's kind of inexpensive is the new. There's a new long comb and a new short comb, and they're open comb razors. They're a little bit more aggressive than the other two vintage ones that I've mentioned, and those are fairly inexpensive too. And so you can get some different levels of aggression pretty cheaply on eBay or other auction sites. So I feel just a little bit. Maybe I nicked some. Maybe I went against the grain in a certain area down here, but it'll be gone in just a couple of minutes. Let's throw some Tuscany from Stirling. It's a balm. It's got bergamot and violet, I believe, is the scent combination, and to me it just kind of smells like cherries with some spice. It's got some kick to it. I mean, not like menthol or anything like that, but just something a little different, so it doesn't smell like you're wiping on a lifesaver, you know. It's got some kind of maturity or seasoning or whatever. There we go. That's gonna keep my skin nice. All right. So, La Belle de Sud, Mickey Lee. I do need to keep remembering to run it a lot drier than I like usually, and I think I'll continue to be happy with that soap base, because I did have nice creamy rinses once I was able to come from the tub with a thicker soap, and it was a very luxurious rinse. And so if I want to keep that creaminess, then I'll have to run it drier. And it looks like it doesn't, it still bonds with my skin, it still protects my skin, because I got such a great shave. That's what you need to worry about when if you do run them a little drier, because if they're too dry, then they don't bond with the skin, and they just kind of sit on top of it, and that doesn't give you the protection that you need. I think it smelled good during the shave. I enjoyed it. There was nothing that tripped my triggers. It was also fairly light. But I should have paid a little bit more attention. I was just distracted with having to try to rescue it, and the fact that the lather that was in the bowl died so quickly. It was just too thin, and so I kind of missed giving you the strength level of the soap in today's shave. But it wasn't strong, because it didn't knock me over or anything. But it was pleasant, so at least we know that. So this is what I have left. You know, I did keep having to go back every pass to the soap puck for a higher dose. I'm confident that one of these days this guy's going to start looking like a normal shaving brush. He's just so stocky, and I had to splay his hair out when I finished stropping him. He was just kind of like that, but he did well once I had the lather properly done. He's still down here around the base of the hairs, has lots of backbone for you guys who like density and backbone, but a nice massagey feel by the tips. And then obviously once they start splitting, after a while, then it's going to get softer and softer and softer. I think it's going to be a really a really nice brush. He's just looking a little bit awkward at this stage. Doesn't really matter that I used almost 3 teaspoons of water because I just had to go back to the soap tub to get more. And so that's not important this time. Yep, that irritation I told you about, gone. Didn't last very long at all. So now we have 36 uses now on this feather. And Mickey Lee's an excellent brand. It's not top tier, but it's a great brand, and they have lots of neat scents that are not similar to others. So I think they're and it's good folks who run that company as well. I continue to love this C-plate on the Karve Christopher Bradley razor. The stainless steel razor version is out now, but I'm enjoying this brass. It's cheaper, and why ditch my whole collection of plates just for a different material? Even though it's a gorgeous razor, the stainless steel one, I think I'll be keeping this guy around because I've got tons of silver colored razors, the vintage rhodium coated ones, that are kind of the vintage way, and then other stainless steel razors like Timeless and others. And so let's keep this guy a little different, right? And someday I'll debate about whether or not I want to polish.
0930.
Man, that's pesky. That's why I don't shave in the mornings, right? It's just a little thing to help me to remember to keep my schedule right in the mornings before I go to work. So, we got a patina developing and darkening. You can always polish this up and get it back to shiny, but I think I like the patina effect so far. I don't think I'm going to shine it up, but the shine razors do look really good too. All right, now, I hope there was something good that you enjoyed here in this shave. I know I sure did, and I've only got one more shave after this one before austere August starts, and so that shows you how much I just kind of wanted to try this soap out. I don't think I've detected the nuttiness, the pistachio that is claimed to be in there, and I'm sure it's there. But I wouldn't have guessed that the lavender as a supporting ingredient to the peach would make it so nice. I'm really glad that I ended up with this soap. This is one that came in a big box with a bunch of other soaps, and it's kind of neat when you buy soaps like that because inevitably you get some to try out that you never would have bought in the first place. And so I really enjoy this guy. I don't think it's a feminine soap at all because it's mainly peach with the lavender coming in, and it's not really lavender isn't like a carnation or rose type scent. It's not that kind of floral, and so it can come in and help out in different ways, and I think it's a great scent for man or woman. All right, now you take care. This is Sugar Daddy Shaves. Bye.